Welcome to crowd.
Hi guys.
Hi.
If everyone wants to start taking a seat, I think we're going to get started. Okay. So guys, everyone having a good time?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Who has ever been to WeWork before? Woo! Who has no idea what WeWork is? Who likes beer? All right, so about 10% of you like beer. Cool. All right, guys, really quick. Can everyone? Awesome. That worked really well. Okay, so welcome to WeWork. Some of you might be wondering, what is WeWork? We are a community of creators. So what we do is transform buildings into beautiful collaborative office space. All month-to-month office space, so if anyone's interested in taking a tour, more than happy to show you around this evening. I'll be hiding out at the front desk, so come find me. My name is Kelly. I'm part of the community team here at WeWork. If anyone has any questions, happy to answer them and enjoy your evening. This is an enterprise sales meetup. You guys are selling business to business. We are a business and we're actually selling to businesses. Our largest company right now has 80 desks with us, so even if you don't think this is a solution for your company, it might be. Might be interesting for someone you know. So if you want to learn a little bit more about WeWork, come and find me. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Howdy, everyone. Hello. Thank you everyone for coming out to the second Boston Enterprise Sales Meetup. And for any of you that are into the Twitters, Instagrams, and whatnot, we do have a Twitter account. It's called enterprise_sale, #boss sales. Because we're in Boston, it's all boss here. So the thing that we do here is come together as a community of B2B sales professionals, quota-carrying sales reps, leaders, managers, and people that just love sales. And to have a conversation, to network, meet each other, have some good times with peers, but also to share information about what works, what you're seeing in the field, and have a real conversation about things around sales that are happening today. And hopefully in that process we can all get a little bit better at our sales game. And I have clicker technology. So we're going to have this conversation around selling before marketing. I'm not going to spoil the big surprise, but Melyssa will be speaking momentarily. We're going to have this real interesting fireside chat about selling before marketing. These events happen because we have some really great sponsors who make this possible. Obviously, we work for providing this excellent space and the beverage and food for the evening, as well as the great organization that they are to support these types of events. We also have Scale, who does some really amazing work for sales process for companies from startups to large institutions. And I also have a few folks here from the Spiro team, if they would like to actually contribute a few words about what cool technologies they're creating over there at the Spiro HQ. Come up here, if people know who you are.
Sure, thanks Mark. So hi, I'm Adam from Spiro. The rest of the Spiro team is over here. So we're here at WeWork on the 7th floor, and we're building a personal sales assistant app, which is only for salespeople who like to make more money. So,
and you know, there's not a lot here. Is anyone here into like making money? Just a show of hands. Like, you may have to cut down.
Exactly. So Spiro is a artificial intelligence for you that reads all the data in your CRM, email, and calendar. Always recommends the best action that you can make right now to make more money. So if you'd like to see more, you can visit us at spirohq.com. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Adam. And also, I have there's maybe one or two people from this company that does some interesting video technology called. What's the name of the company again?
Allego.
Allego! Right, come on. They're too busy videotaping. But does someone from the Allego team want to maybe come up and just introduce the the company and the team.
You want me to do it?
Somebody
else.
So someone else.
Come on, George.
Red, come on, I'll go up. All right.
Got to give it to Donovan.
That's right. Hi, everybody. Welcome. Allego is a video training platform built for large enterprise, diverse mobile sales forces. So if you're looking for coaching or pushing out training or sharing best practices within the field, Allego is the platform. Melissa's not going to talk about it tonight too much, right, Melissa?
No.
No, she's going to talk about her experiences. So, are you introducing Melissa now? Okay, would you like me to do that?
Sure.
All right. Everybody, please welcome your speaker this evening, Melyssa Plunkett-Gomez.
I have a very loud projectile voice. By the way, I'd like to see just a little bit of wave. We're going to take a picture for posterity here for our second meetup. So, 1, 2, 3, Enterprise! I got the crowd over here that loves the food and the beer. That's the beer crowd. I think they're having lots of fun. But thanks for that. And I want to have this conversation about selling and marketing. But before we do that, I want Melissa just maybe share what's been your history? What have you done? Why are we here today?
So, let's see. I have been selling for about 15 years. Before that, I have a technical background, a couple technical degrees, and focused in program management and consulting, and then decided that I loved selling. So, got involved a long time ago with software companies, and have been probably with about 4 in the last 15 years, and each of them gets progressively, I get in earlier and earlier and smaller. So I'm definitely addicted to the early stage startup time frame.
And so, we were batting around a few different ideas for this evening to talk about, and this concept of selling before marketing seemed really intriguing, mainly because it's something that you've had to go through a couple of times now, particularly what you're doing now with Allego. So you just want to kind of just share or give us like an intro as to what we might be talking about and digging into?
So I've been, my last 2 companies, I was the first salesperson to join the company, really kind of at the stage where nobody knew how to sell the product or really what we were selling. And I think that there are a couple different approaches. Some companies start out and they focus their resources on marketing, creating a lot of buzz, really aiming to generate inbound leads, and then selling from that momentum. My experience, especially with this company at Allego, has been one of focusing more on staying a little bit under the radar and spending initial time on selling, and in a kind of the process of selling and learning at the same time, really getting a sense as to what are people willing to pay for before you invest any resources in marketing, and focus on selling and customer success, and then building out a marketing strategy based on that. So that's been my experience with Allego, and that's how it's relevant to what I'm doing.
And so I was thinking about this topic because in many ways it's a bit controversial, particularly because there's a company here in Boston that has a conference called Inbound every year. It's a pretty big one. And obviously there's been a lot that's been built up over the past, I'd say 5 or so years around you have to have an inbound strategy. So maybe we can differentiate the 2 approaches. Taking an inbound marketing approach to developing your audience and developing a lead generation strategy, as opposed to maybe not taking that approach and really focus purely on selling?
So I'm all for inbound leads.
Inbound leads!
All for it. As George will tell you, I say to him every day, where are my inbound leads? But I think at an early stage of a company, you have limited resources, and you have to think about where you focus those resources. And I think it's very difficult to, you're making bets, and it's very rare that the bets that you make that early are all going to pay off, that they're all going to be the right assumptions. So to go out with a visible marketing strategy, a lot of buzz around an idea or a message that may not be the right one, that may not be the one that the market is willing to pay for, can be a mistake, I think. I think that an inbound marketing strategy is critical once you have validated those assumptions or kind of realigned around the right strategy, so that you know what people are going to pay for, where the business value is generated, where the value proposition resonates with the customer. I think that we all know a lot of companies who a lot of money and spend it on creating a lot of buzz, getting a lot of momentum around marketing, but may not be targeted at the right place for what customers are willing to pay for. So,
Kind of like the proverbial TechCrunch launch.
yeah.
It's all buzz. Is there really any substance? Is there any beef to it? So, kind of thinking through this idea of testing versus buzz. So, we say selling before marketing. Maybe you can just walk us through like what your process is. What was the thought process and some of your experiences specifically to that approach?
So when my experience is that when I started with Allego, I had a good sense as to what we were building and where we thought the value was. We were lucky enough to have one customer based on a relationship from one of our founders. And we did a lot of testing and validation with that customer about what resonated with them, where did they find value, what were they willing to pay for. And once I joined, my approach was to leverage my network, not to go out and sell to my network, but to really have conversations about, I know that you're trying to manage a distributed sales team, I know you're dealing with these issues, we're coming to market and we think this is something that can address your challenges, and have a lot of conversations around that. And ultimately, some of those conversations led to people saying, I want to do a pilot with you, or I want to try this, I want to see how this works. And through that process, and also through really investing heavily in customer success, we were able to nail down what the product should be and what the messaging should be.
And I want to talk about the whole customer success story as well, because I think a lot of, particularly in the early stage, you focus on product, you focus on sales, but you have so many different priorities. How do you think about setting up a customer success team, and what exactly are they doing in those early days?
So after myself, the next person we hired was a customer success person who was a very senior level individual.
So the second person employed out, or really the first person employed after you?
Yeah, I think so. It was within a few months of my joining. It was actually after I sold my first deal, when we had a pharmaceutical company using the product, and I was starting to do the implementation, and the intelligence of my co-founder, Yu Chun Lee, said Melyssa shouldn't be doing the deployment, but get her back out into the field. So we hired someone who had a lot of experience in this, and she had a really deep understanding of the importance of methodology and adoption and taking the, even though we're a SaaS company, I think a lot of people think, even with enterprise products, well, SaaS, you don't need any services, it's all just, hands off. But I really believe with certain products, you do need deployment services in order to ensure adoption. And so she understood the importance of that, understood the importance of bringing people on to her team. And to be honest, the way we sell the product is, it's slowly starting to change, but we would always do pilots initially, paid pilots. We would always do pilots, and the pilot was part of the sales process because that's where the customer we would help the customer validate their assumptions and help them to understand the best approach to deploying across the enterprise. And that part of the sales process was almost completely dependent on the strength and success of our customer success team. So, that team is just as, if not more critical than sales.
Maybe we can dig in just on that topic alone, because we're in this world where there's a lot of freemium or free trials. Everything is free.
Mm-hmm.
And we know, like in life, there's no free lunches,
Mm-hmm.
right? So how did you actually set this up? How did you initiate those conversations with the companies to convince them to actually pay for the pilot?
So what I'm saying here doesn't mean that a strategy of freemium doesn't work. I do know that in my experience and based on a lot of what I've read, a freemium strategy actually has a lot more downside than upside in an enterprise space. For us, we felt it was important to find the place where the customer would make an investment because we needed to know, number one, we were selling to someone who had the ability to write a check, and we needed to be able to validate that the customer ultimately would pay for the product after the pilot. And there's things that we do with the pilot to address some concerns related to that investment, but I think our strategy has always been one of, if they're not willing to pay, it's perception is reality, right? If you're not willing to pay for something, there's probably a high probability that you're not going to value it as highly. If you know that you've made an investment in something, you're going to dedicate resources to make it successful. And so that's been our experience.
Sorry.
Yeah.
So where do you draw the line between like your first pivot customers when you make the inroad, like in a vertical, like let's say law firms, like if you give away, let's say consultative time, where do you draw the line between devaluing your time, like it's free versus following up and kind of making sure that they're happy, like giving the first few customers that extra free kind of free product, free service.
So, just so I understand the question, so how much are you giving
how much
away
do you give?
essentially, or you're certainly giving something away?
Yeah, how
during
much do you
the
give away
pilot?
to promote your brand without devaluing that brand, I guess is my question.
To be honest, and this is not, so I have we have two co-founders who are, one of them actually came up with the idea of the product, and the other is someone who has, his name is Yu-Chun Lee, and he's done this before really successfully. And so, back 3 years ago, I would say, well, we have to do it for free, we don't have any, we only have one customer, but to his credit, he would hold the line that in the early days, we did not do anything for free. Now, today, the market has matured and it's more competitive. And so there are some things, I don't want to say we do them for free because we always try to get something in return. So, if we say that we'll do something from a services perspective or do something from a pilot perspective at a lower cost, we expect the customer to make a commitment in return. But we really haven't had to give stuff away for free. And it's interesting because I've used that against my competitors a number of times when I've said to customers, look, you have limited resources. If you have a company that's offering stuff for free, especially their services, you have to wonder how much you're going to get for that. And that actually, I think as a salesperson, if you have confidence enough to make that statement, people respect that.
So, we're going to take some questions at the end so we can work through the conversation. But definitely remember those questions, and we'll have definitely as much Q&A time as you want. And I want to be able to start digging in on this. So obviously it's been successful, but what did you feel made it successful? What kind of what into it? And how did you find, as you're using this approach, that you're getting validation as was a salient, right approach?
So, every step of the, when you're in a startup, you're a small company. So we very much were able to validate every time something happened or discuss things every time. So, we only had 4 customers at the time. And we would reevaluate kind of the assumptions that we were making all the time and test those assumptions. So that helped us. I think we're very lucky to have 2 founders who have the type of attitude that they encourage constructive dialogue, constructive debate, and challenging each other, and we did that a lot. And I will also say, I know I sound like a broken record, but I would also say our customer success team. Because not only did they make our customers successful, but successful customers are the best lead source you can get. I have no problem going to a happy customer and asking them to make an introduction. None whatsoever, because customers love to tell other people that they found something. And what we were selling was still new. It is still new. And the people who bought early from us were early adopters. They were innovators. And people like to be viewed as innovators. And so I generated a lot of leads and business through asking for referrals or asking for introductions. And our customer success team made that possible.
And you mentioned something just now about testing things. What were some of the things that you would test or evaluate during this process?
Number one, what companies will pay for. So what is it that they say they want versus what will they pay for? Customers will always tell you, well, I want this thing or I want that thing, but really at the end of the day, what are they going to pay for? Number 2, adoption is critical, and so we were always testing what are the different ways that customers will adopt, what are the best practices, what do we need to do as a company, and also who are the best target customers. So there's a lot of customers we can sell to, but we really want to sell, especially at this stage, to the customers that will adopt the product successfully. So, my colleague Kristen and I, who's my customer success partner, we've had many examples where we've met and worked with companies and we wanted desperately to work with them, but there were a few key critical success factors that were just not there and to be successful. So I think to walk away, that was critical.
I think we all have those struggles when you're trying to figure out the market and wasting a lot of time with companies that ultimately just aren't going to use the product or really get the value out of it.
The other thing I would say is that, with I don't want to be negative about an inbound marketing strategy because there are a lot of companies who've been very successful with it. But I do think that type of approach also generates a lot of interest, especially with the new technology. A lot of people that are interested and want to talk to you and waste a lot of your time. And you can I remember when I started with Allego, I believed we were still trying to figure out who our target market was. And I believed that there was this group that would be great buyers for us. And I did a lot of calls, outbound prospecting, and got a lot of meetings. And I didn't close one deal with any of those people. They were very interested in talking and having meetings and seeing the product, but ultimately they weren't the group within an organization that felt enough pain to write a check. And so, Yu-Chun said, I told you so, but I had to test that and learn for myself. So.
So one point I wanted to focus in on here, because I think we had a really interesting side conversation, was a defensible position and this idea around competition, right? Because you're not the only one right now in the video space. So how did you use that to your advantage? That you did have a website. So let's not talk about it. But it's Yu Chen. So yeah, I guess just how did you use it to your advantage? How did you?
So I will be the first to say that I complained more than anyone about that. I would say, look, there's companies that come to our website and we have like nothing there. They're not even going to contact us. We're losing so much business. And again, to his credit, he kind of held firm on that. And we actually did not officially launch the company until about, 3 weeks ago?
A month ago, yeah.
So it was about 2.5 years after we actually started selling. But by that point, we had 65 global enterprises. We have 15,000 plus users on the platform. And I will tell you, I have I can count at least 4 deals where I beat competitors because I was able to go onto their website and figure out exactly what they had, and I understood where their strengths and weaknesses were, and I could go in and talk to the prospect and aim my discussion around that. And the reason why that worked for me is because they did not have enough of a defensible position to say we have all these customers and we can, they didn't have that position. Nobody did yet. Nobody could come and do that for us. We didn't have like a product demo up on our website. We didn't have any graphics of the screens. We had a crappy website. And I'm sure we lost some prospects or business because of that, because people walked away when they couldn't find what they need, because buyers go through part of the journey themselves, so we couldn't service those customers. But I think in the end it helped us.
That's an interesting point, because you're going out and you're selling. Is it possible that you're actually getting ahead of the buyer journey and generating interest, because they may not have been necessarily thinking about this type of solution or a solution that you're bringing to the table?
Yeah, I'm sure there are some customers that we didn't get to because we didn't have the information out there. I'm sure there were times when I would have sent an email to somebody, because I did do some prospecting, and they went and looked at the website and they didn't see anything, and so they didn't call me back or answer my email. So I'm sure that did happen, but I do think that we were in a space where we were educating the market, and when we were able to have those conversations, we were in a better position to educate them.
So these are all the benefits of selling before marketing, but obviously it's not all rainbows and sunshine and unicorns. There were some things that were challenging, a lot of things, but you go into like some of the details. And
so for any salesperson, having no lead sucks, excuse the color phrase, but that wasn't fun. It's a lot more work, and at the end of the day, it is a lot of testing and validating, and some of that is discouraging. That whole, content and website, that whole area. The other thing is, I think it's harder to find salespeople that will come into a company at that early stage and not be able to, immediately start selling with leads. I think, for whatever reason, I have this need for pain where, I'm okay with kind of going through that learning process, and I love ambiguity, and I love kind of figuring out how to solve the puzzle.
you need the struggle.
Yeah, but I don't think I'm a typical salesperson. I think most salespeople, most good software salespeople, I don't want to say are coin operated, but they're focused on their quota. They want to make money, they want to sell, and I think that doing it this way, and it's not as quick of a, you're not feeling the immediate gratification of getting leads and selling as quickly.
And just to be clear, I mean, those early leads that you did have, obviously not coming from inbound strategy, and not like just from kind of picking and choosing names off of LinkedIn. Like, where did they actually come from?
It was my network, and it was the network of our co-founders. It was, our very first customer was Pacific Life, which was a customer. One of our co-founders had a company, and he did consulting in the financial services space, and so they were his customer. So they were kind of our first, they were our beta customer. And then everybody after that was just through our network. I would reach out and ask for conversations. My co-founders would do the same thing. It was all based on our network. I can't even, I think we've gotten, probably by month 9, we started to get inbound leads from customer referrals. So we became very big in the financial services space. And so we would get customers, we'd get companies like MetLife or Nationwide or whatever call us and say, our VP just came from John Hancock and he used Allego there and now he wants us to talk to you. So we would start getting that. But it took a good 9 months to a year before we got anything inbound.
And obviously, I mean, a lot of inbound is based upon having really successful customer
Yes.
implementation.
Yeah.
Getting back to the old customer
Exactly.
success story.
Yeah.
I think that was it. And if you want to ask one last question before we open it up to questions from the crowd, is there just one interesting resource or book or something that you've come across that's really helped you in your sales career?
Well, this sounds very old school, but I love the book 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I love that book. I think that there's a book, I can't even remember the name, but it's all about listening, and I think that's a big area of weakness for me, listening. So I try to focus on learning as much as I can about improving my listening skills. And then I just have a few really good mentors that I've worked with, and who I try to continue to learn from, and I try to find people who I can do the same for them. So.
Yeah, that's a good point about mentors. I don't think we do enough of that as salespeople. Kind of do our thing and we go ahead and out there and sell. But you get so much just being in a network or a community, just being able to bounce ideas off each other. So I'm a big advocate of finding some mentors, finding people you can plug into.
And even non-salespeople, I think, are great mentors for salespeople. So.
You get a little bit out of the proverbial tunnel vision of quotas and pipelines and such. So I want to open it up to questions. Obviously, we can cover a lot of ground, whether it's this particular topic or just enterprise sales questions in general. We're here in the back.
Hi, I'll confess if I don't know my friend Melyssa. So the first question is, how did you become so awesome?
You got to announce what your name is. Come on.
I'm Glenn Dominic, sales coach at Startup. So I want to test you with a critical question, actually. So if you look at what, sort of the common best practice for going to market with a SaaS product or a technology product, we talk about things like, coming up with the most viable product, minimum viable product, which some people talk about maximum level of product, all those other ideas. But how different is that approach from what you took in the sense of, say, let's focus on selling the first 20 customers and not get distracted, learn, pivot. Do you see that as consistent, or are you critical of that approach, or do you think that's essentially what you did in a different way? Or?
I don't think the MVP is different than what we did. In terms of how that fits into a sales and marketing process, but we were very laser focused from a product standpoint on what we needed to build in order to sell the product to the target market that we were interested in. There were a lot of people that asked for a lot of different things, and a lot of valuable things that we eventually built. But in the first year, it was just really about taking the core product that we had and making it like, like outstanding. It wasn't about building 100 bells and whistles. It was taking what we had and making it fast and making the user experience unbeatable. And then after that, we looked at things like Salesforce integration or doing all these other things. But we were very focused on what we needed to do in order to just sell to the target market we were interested in, to solve that specific business problem.
Actually, talking about the target market, just a question about qualification, because you're trying to reach out to a lot of folks. How rigorous was your qualification? And how are you using qualification as you're having a lot of these conversations? Because, as you know, you're having a lot of warm referrals, but it could just be a pleasant conversation as opposed to finding a real need.
Well, that's a good point, because I think our qualification criteria really evolved in having, so for example, that group that I had all those meetings with, it was really helpful for us to determine what we're qualifying. Those people didn't fit into our qualifying criteria.
Yeah.
And so we had a very clear understanding of the type of business that we needed to go after. Initially, we just focused in regulated industries, so financial services, pharma, then we got into medical devices. And then we expanded after that, and we looked at, what did their sales organization look like, and even initially our product was a mobile-first product, and we came out initially with, native iOS apps and a web app, and we said, okay, we need to find sales teams that have iPads or iPhones. So it was pretty targeted initially, companies started to fall outside of that as our customer base grew and as our product footprint grew. But initially it was very targeted.
Any questions? Over here, the crowd over here.
And I have a question. Can you talk a little bit about investment? Because I agree with your premise that people have to have skin in the game, or these freemium processes just it's going nowhere because you don't have someone that's willing to cut a check. Can that come in the form of investment and resources from the company, whether it be the CEO being the actual, sponsor of the actual pilot, or them identifying specific people that will work on that pilot with you at the company, or does it have to be them writing you a physical check?
So I'll tell you my experience, our experience, and I'm laughing as Kristen's sitting here because we've done this. So I'll just tell you my experience. I'm not going to tell you what works and doesn't work.
Yeah.
Our experience is that every company will say, you'll say, well, we charge for pilots because this is an investment. And every company will tell you, doing this pilot is an investment in our part. That's what they'll say. And they'll all commit to all of those things that you said. But at the end of the day, you can't hold them to that. You just can't. And, we do things in our process where we say, look, we will do a pilot with you, we're going to charge you for it, not every time, we're going to charge you for it, and if you buy production, we'll credit that towards production. So it's not about making money on the pilot, that's not our issue, it's about, and we'll tell the client that, but it's about having skin in the game. And if you ask your boss or someone for the budget for this pilot, we know that you are going to be more invested in showing and demonstrating some value from it than if there was nothing applied to it.
I think, just to quickly add, I just feel like the nature of cutting a check means that a company has to go through a lot of process internally to make that happen, even if it's like a 10K check, just the number of sign-offs that are required to happen. That kind of gives you a clue as to what's it really going to look like.
And if you have to pay for something, somebody is eventually going to ask you about it. Internally, someone's going to say, hey, how's that thing going that you got $15,000 for? There's accountability that's tied to that. And we have lost deals because our competitors have given things away. But I will say, looking back, that's not why we lost it. I truly believe in my heart that the things that we've lost when others have given it away free, that is not the key reason. We absolutely could have done a better job selling the value. I don't think people make an investment in their organization's time in a crappy product just because they can get it for free. So.
It's more of a statement than a question, but it seems to me like you're investing in a company and learning more about that company's methods of buying and purchasing, methodologies, and know how to get up to the person who is going to be writing the check, which is really important.
Exactly.
I believe you never accept a no from somebody who doesn't have the power to say yes, and if you've got somebody writing a check,
Yeah.
you're there.
Yeah, absolutely true. You're not just learning about the adoption, you're learning about that procurement process.
I like that statement. You never accept no from someone who doesn't have the power to say yes. That definitely, that indeed is true, right? Like, who are you again? Yes.
Now that you guys are, I guess, for lack of a better term, quote unquote legitimate, right? You've gone public, everybody knows who you are, you have a website. Can you talk a little bit about how you foresee your selling processes and methodologies changing now that you're selling during and selling after marketing?
Yeah. So we hired a sales VP who's right over here, my boss George, and I think that it was really important to bring someone in who could build out a sales organization. You know, up until George joined, it was me and Brett, my colleague, and we needed someone who could come in and knew how to scale an organization. And he has some great background in sales methodology. So we're going, as much as I hate process, I'm going to, I promise, work within a process as much as I can. Yeah, I mean, you know, we use Salesforce and we use tools like that, but I think it's really important. To me, I think that so I'm the type of person that, like, as I said, my background's technical, and I really like kind of solving equations and like working through this stuff, right? But I think that in order to scale and in order to become really successful, we need to hire a lot of salespeople who we can bring in and teach them how to sell the product so that they don't have to start from square one. And I think that having, you know, sales VP and sales methodology and what kind of processes and structure to do that is really important. And marketing too. So now we have a marketing team who's built out a beautiful website, and we have content, and we have marketing campaigns, and we actually go to events and have a booth. And so there's all of that good stuff that will generate some inbound leads. So yeah.
So I had the pleasure of working with Melyssa at Crimson Hexagon, and one of the things that struck me about your sales process, now I'm at Harvard where I deal with a lot of enterprise salespeople, was the creativity you brought to the job. It may be part of the solving equations piece, but do you want to speak to a little bit about the role of creativity in sales and how it's affected your role at Allego?
It's really a spot-on question, because I don't think most people consider salespeople as necessarily creative, but creativity is definitely
Ruth's
required.
Chris, but I don't want one more email asking me to come to dinner there.
You love what?
Ruth's Chris,
Oh.
you know, like the steakhouse email, I probably get 50 in a week.
Yeah, I just love, I mean, I'm an engineer, like an industrial engineer by training, so I just love kind of figuring things out. And I love listening to conversations and trying to understand what that means with respect to how I demo the product. And I probably do a lot more preparation with like a demo or sales meeting than I actually need to, but to me it's every opportunity is different, and there's always a way to kind of figure out what the customer is looking for and how to figure out how your competitor can't do it or hasn't done it. And yeah, I really enjoy that. I think that's one of the reasons I love kind of the early stage is, you know, that when we were at Crimson Hexagon, like we were selling social media analytics like before Twitter started, and people were like, "What's Twitter?" I don't, you know, we were trying to analyze Twitter data, and there were like 100 tweets a day. It was like, you know,
And they're all just
yeah.
like VCs tweeting at each
Yeah,
other as well.
yeah. I think Perry was like number 300 Twitter member. So I really enjoy that.
Any other questions, thoughts, suggestions? Yes.
You had said before that a lot of your leads led to a lot of meetings, didn't necessarily lead to.
Not my leads, my trying to investigate and prospect.
Right. Is there a way to tell that the party you're dealing with is interested but not really going to make a purchase?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely, so early on, because we were selling such a new type of technology, nobody had any budget for it. Like you couldn't say you have a budget for this because nobody had anything budgeted. But I think, you know, after 1 or 2 calls and a demo, you ask for some specific commitments on things. And if you can't get those commitments, then, you know, it's not going anywhere.
That's actually a key point, because I think, you know, oftentimes it's a weird dynamic. There's a lot of sales reps I've worked with and experienced that don't feel comfortable asking for these commitments. But the way you make an enterprise sale happen and you progress a deal forward is getting those commitments.
So what kind of commitments do you typically ask for?
Well, you know, when you're on a call with somebody or on a demo, you know, you're always trying to think about what am I trying to accomplish with this event, demo call, and then at the end of the call or during the call, you progress and you ask for that. You know, if it's, you know, we're always trying to sell to a sales executive. So maybe you're talking with a manager level person and you say, okay, let's set up a meeting with your sales executive. Or I think it's just all about understanding what is your sales process. You ask the customer what is their buying process. So walk me through how you make these types of decisions, and you actually ask for commitment to help you get through that process. And if you get stuck somewhere, you know, that we were doing this today, eventually you just say, you know, it looks like you're not interested, or, you know, you strip line them, which is kind of the term of, you pull away and you see if they come back and you do that little dance. But honestly, I maybe too much sometimes, but I don't have patience to waste any time on deals that I don't feel are gonna, so sometimes it's my detriment, but I don't, yeah.
And time is precious. You can't work with companies that are going to not show any sort of commitment. So move on to.
I also, you know, honestly, I leverage my colleagues so much in terms of brainstorming. That's one thing that I find I love doing, going back to the creativity part, which is I love working with people and sitting in a room and just saying, hey, I'm working on this deal and I'm stuck somewhere. Let's just brainstorm. I was doing this with George today, and it was like not a really complicated answer, but just talking to him about it, it was just got me to that point. Okay, that makes sense. I'll just send that email, or that sounds like the right thing to say.
Yeah, I think that, you know, it's so important to be able to have the openness to be able to talk through some of these things. You know, that's where I see like really great sales cultures and organizations where they have this we just built in this idea that you're going to coach and you're going to talk and you're going to brainstorm and work through some of the challenges in these deals, particularly in enterprise. In some of these there's so many complexities and so many moving parts. In fact, that's what we're going to talk about next week. I mean, not next week, but next month is sales training, coaching, and you know how to actually set it up and make it kind of stick and actually
And how to do it with the Allego.
Yeah, and how to good closing point. One last thing.
Yeah, it's a two-part question. One is, if you went back and you could have a website early on, would you have it? And the second part is, and it's connected to this, is do you need marketing before sales if you don't have as experience of a network as you guys brought to this game?
So let me take the second question first. I would say that, you know, I think that when you're founding a company, you have a really small team. And I think either the founder or someone that the founder brings in has to have some, you can't just bring in kind of like an experienced salesperson at that stage. I think you do need to find someone who can go out. I mean, I ultimately think a founder should be able to go out and sell their product at that early stage. I mean, you know, Yu-Chun and Mark could have easily gone out, and they did. You know, Mark went out and sold the product a lot. He sold to Pacific Life, he sold to, so I think that at that early stage, it has to be someone who can go out and sell, who knows it inside and out. Would I have a website? No, I wouldn't. I don't regret it. I mean, I think, you know, the decisions that Yu-Chun made to build this company, I am not going to second guess because he's just brilliant at doing it. And one of the reasons why I went to work for him, I mean, he asked me to work for him, and I didn't even know what he was building, and I was like, yes, because I had worked for him before. But he, you know, the reason why I love working with him is because he knows how to build a business, and he's focused on the right things. I mean, we're profitable. Like, we're cash flow positive after 2.5 years. We don't need to raise any money. Maybe we will, because maybe we'll want to do some big, but we don't have to. So there's nothing that we did as a company that I would look back and say, nah, I don't think that was the right decision.
Well, I want to give it up for Melyssa and thank you for. Just one last shout out to our really awesome sponsors. WeWork for this great space. Allego with some really awesome sales technology. Spiro doing apps that help salespeople make more money. And Scale, who will come up here, I think, next month to introduce themselves. We have a really fascinating next event. November 11th, Wednesday, November 11th, will be at the other WeWork location, which is nearby. And all the details are actually up on the meetup.com website, so you can actually sign up right after this event. And it's going to be a conversation with Cece Bazar and Andrew Quinn of HubSpot, talking about sales training and coaching, and getting into a lot of the details of what they did to set up sales training at HubSpot, and how it led them to obviously having a really stellar sales team. And because they do a really good job selling, and inbound is important.
You're going to talk about marketing before sales.
Yeah, so that's marketing before sales, if you think that's the right approach. So, thank you again for coming out this evening. We're really trying to make this a community. And the one thing I always ask is, if you found value, if you really enjoyed this evening, please share this with one person in your network that you trust and that you believe will get value out of this event for their own sales development, sales career, and network. So that's what we're trying to do, is build really the premier central location for B2B sales professionals to come, network, grow, learn, and share ideas so we can all advance our sales game. So thank you again for coming out. Just a round of applause just for being out here. And please feel free to network, and we're here. If you want to ask some questions, please do so.